onto the exercises for the files module. So exercise 1, reading the entire contents of the gettysburg.txt file into a string, then output the first 100 characters. Okay, so with open gettysburg.txt, this is just in our current directory as f. We'll just say the contents like this, read, reads, and everything. And here's all of it, but if we do the first 100 characters, it'll be like this. So that's a string. That's what we can do. Exercise 2 says, read in just the first 100 characters of the gettysburg.txt file into a string. A parameter in the read method will be helpful. Verify that the output is the same as exercise 1. So I didn't talk about this in the notes or in the videos, but if you look here, it says reads in at most n characters. It says size. I guess that is really n. But really, just put in 100. It'll read in 100. And then this is how you can read an exact amount of characters like that. Just placing in an integer in the read method. All right, number 3. Read in all the lines of Shakespeare's 10th sonnet, then select every third line and concatenate it together and print it to the screen. So it's sort of making a new poem, I guess, of just every third line. So with open, so we have to go into the Shakespeare folder, and then here's sonnet 10. That's how you can read it in. And it says every third line. So I think the best way to do this is to say read lines, just read them all in like this. And then this will be a list. So we can actually do this. So we can slice the list by every third line. So let's just do that at first and see what this outputs. So this is every third line. And the way to join them is with this join method of a string. So you'll see this sort of pattern quite frequently. So this just says join all of these things in this list with an empty space. So right, we're just going to join them into one big string. That's all that's doing, right? So that'll be the new poem, and then it just says print it to the screen. So I'm just going to copy and paste this over here. And now, so here is the new poem. This is every third line. All right, number 4. This one's a little bit more complex. Take a look at the points.txt file, which first few lines are shown in the image below. Okay, so here is this file. You can go look over here and look at the file in its entirety. So we can actually have that out, but that's just an image of the file. Each line in the file represents 2 points on a coordinate plane. So you have to remember your XY axis, graphing an X and a Y. For example, the first contains the point 599, 531. So this is a point and this is a point, 599, 32. So the points are separated by this dash, this hyphen, and a arrow greater than sign. So then it says, read in the entire file as a list of dictionaries where the keys to the dictionary are X1, Y1, X2, and Y2. The first dictionary would be this, right? So we have X1 mapped to 599, Y1 mapped to 531, and so forth. So that's the first point. That's the second point. All right, so let's go ahead and do this with open points.txt as f. So we're going to iterate through here one at a time. So for line in f, and before we do this, we need to create a list. So points, make an empty list. And now, so each line will be this string right here. So this is a little trick. We're going to actually replace this arrow. So you have to make sure you get this exactly right. So it's space, dash, greater than sign, space. We're going to replace this with a comma. So we're going to make it, so let's just replace it with a comma. And just to show you this, we'll just print this out. This will be a lot of them. Actually, I didn't reassign it. So I need to say point. I'll just say, no, not points. I'll just say We'll say line equals this. So I'm just reassigning it. That's our loop variable. So I'm just taking this out. I'm saying, all right, let's just replace it with a comma. And then what I can do is I can split this thing like this. And now it's not just line. So it's going to split it on this comma. And I'm going to use some tuple unpacking over here. So let's just do this. And so each one of these will be assigned to one of these. So there's going to be 4 in every line, right? So there's 3 commas, but it'll create 4 items. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So I'm just naming these over here. And then what I can do is I can then create a dictionary. All right, so I'm going to create a dictionary, and I'm going to say, all right, X1 is mapped to X1. And actually, we need to turn this into an integer. Y1 is mapped into an integer. These will be strings right now. These would be strings because every line in a file is a string. This is just converting it to an integer. X2 int X2, Y2 int Y2 like this. And then we're just going to append this dictionary, just D like this. And that will do it. So here is all of them. We don't have to print out all of them. Let's just do the first 5. So this is what I wanted. Right, so every item in the dictionary, or every item in the list, is a dictionary that corresponds to the current row. So X1 is 599, Y1 is 531, and so forth. So that looks good. All right, number 5, create a new text file called roles.txt that is 50 lines long. On each line, write the outcome of the roll of 2 dice separated by a comma. For instance, the first line could be 4, 6. All right, so this one we're going to need the random module. And now we're going to actually create a new file. So for writing, we have to open it for writing. And then we are just going to, we need to roll some dice. So f.write. Random.randint, so you have to remember that. So 1, 6. This will roll a 6-sided dice. And this will actually fail. So let me show you. It tries to write it. It says argument must be a string, but we pass in an integer. So this is an integer. We have to convert it to a string like this. So we'll just wrap that whole thing in the str constructor. And then we need to write a comma over here. And then we can write again another number like this. And lastly, we need to write a new line character, or else it'll all be on the same line. Okay, so let's do that. And we can go to roles.txt and we can see, oh, that only did 1, right? So let's go back over here and we'll just say for I in range 50. And that'll do it 50 times. So while the file is open for writing, we're going to write 50 lines over here. And now if I go back over here, it should, if I refresh, should have all of those over there. Okay, so those are all the dice rolls. Okay, very cool. Okay, so that wraps up the exercises for the files module.